I'm El-Alfi. I'm e-volunteer coordinator with English Online. I'm actually one of the newest members on board. Our topic today. Okay, sorry. So I will have to mute you all during the presentation. And at the end, for the questions and comments, I will unmute you if you would like to ask any questions or give any comments. We can do that. Thank you very much. So our topic today is teaching EAP, which is teaching English for academic purposes using flipped learning and web-based tools. Okay, just a second. So I would like to ask you to jot down quickly. I know some of you have entered the room a little bit early, so we had a chance to chat a little bit. For the others, can you tell me a little bit about what you do, like what you teach, if you're currently teaching, and in which specific field? Is it ESL? Is it English for academic purposes? Is it link classes? Just for me to have an idea about your professional backgrounds. In the chat box, yeah, that'd be great. Thank you, Bushra. ESL. Okay. Right. So oh, okay. So are you're using the EAP, English for Academic Purposes, in adult? Excellent. This is great. So we have an expert here. So the topic that I have selected is because I have a couple of reasons for doing that. First, I would like to share with you our volunteers, and of course, if there are some of you who are not volunteers with English Online, you know, to benefit from some tools and resources. And as well, it's because of personal and professional interest, because I've had a little bit of, you know, experience teaching EAP in different contexts. I don't claim to be an expert by any means, but you know, I've taught it for the last 3 years, and I've had my own challenges in the traditional classroom. So I thought, you know, researching this topic would benefit me and hopefully benefit others, you know. So it's using flipped learning and web-based tools. So I would like to ask you if you know anything about what is flipped learning. Again, if you would like to jot down quickly in the chat box, this term flipped learning or the flipped classroom, what does it mean to you? Have you heard it before? Have you used it in your own classes? Okay. Thank you, Yan. For Bushra and Miran, do you have any thoughts or on this? Okay. This is actually good in a way. So this means this is new information. So let's start with what flipped learning is. Okay. I've had a little bit of experience using flipped learning in one context, which is teaching English as a second language for adults. However, it's a very big it's a very big topic, and it could take 2 or 3 webinars to talk about. So I will just highlight some of its features to help us focus later on EAP, right? But generally speaking, I would like to share what it is. For Kafka and Lockwood, it means moving direct instruction from the group learning space, which is the classroom, okay, to the individual learning space outside of the classroom. What does that mean? It means that there are 2 very important parts to the flipped learning. One of them is what you do outside of the classroom, okay, and what you do inside of the classroom. So what you do outside of the classroom is the direct instruction, okay? Instead of the teacher providing his or her instructions during the class time, the didactic part, or the part where the students learn new information, they can do that on their own. Of course, through certain very specified instructions, but they can do it on their own using computers if there is a need to do that, or not. It's not really a must, okay? And the class time will be dedicated more to the group work, hands-on activities, more for the teacher to guide his or her learners and make sure what the information they have grasped, the information they have grasped during the class time. So here, the educator has more time to guide the students to apply the learned concepts creatively. Does that make any sense to you? Do you feel this is something that could be doable? And here, to continue on that, yeah, to continue on that perspective, it is actually, or to continue the definition of flipped learning, it is a blending of direct instruction. So the part where the students receive new information, okay, the part where the students receive the information they need to understand or remember, okay, and the constructivist learning. The constructivist learning entails self-directed learning, entails relying a little bit on your prior knowledge, on the student's prior knowledge, and to have an inquisitive mind, okay? And according to Flipped Learning Network, there are 4 important pillars for flipped learning. Flexible environment, so the part that the student works on outside of the classroom, there is flexible environment, so students can access the information they need 24/7, actually, whenever they feel like listening, reading the material or the content they're supposed to learn at any time. So that does help for students who are shy, for students who have a problem expressing that they don't understand something to the teacher, or for students who miss the class. Learning culture. So here, the learning culture changes from the teacher-centered, and this is for inside the classroom, changes from teacher-centered, where the teacher, is the one talking all the time, to more of a student-centered, learning environment. There's more time for the students to interact with one another. There's more time for interacting between the teacher and the student, for the teacher to be a guide. And definitely it entails intentional content. So it's not like a haphazard process. It is a very well planned process where there's a lot of preparation from the teacher's side, um, which requires professionalism definitely, because in order to be a facilitator to your students, in order to guide them, you need to know what to do and when to do it, which shows here in this diagram, adapted by Bishop and Vergeler, that it's divided into two parts. The human interaction part on the left-hand side, this is where it happens inside the classroom and it's student-centered. And the part on the right-hand side is what happens outside of the classroom, could be at home, could be at the student's library, wherever that is. And as it says here, it can be automated. So it could be through computer technology or not. However, these days, yes, having access to computer technology is definitely one of the essential parts of flipped learning. Okay, so that will take us to the misconceptions. For some people, when they hear flipped learning, it shows that everything is upside down. And simply they think it's homework that is done in class and classwork that is done at home. Although this may seem to be the idea, but it's a very superficial one, and it does not give flipped learning its full value. Because actually what is done during the class time is not homework. It is a lot of work that emphasizes what the students have learned. And replacing teachers with videos, although videos could be a very important part of what the students use outside of the classroom, but it never replaces the teachers, because these videos, they need to be meaningful, they need to serve a certain purpose. So it does not replace the teachers. Teachers are the ones who choose certain videos that would help them, help the students learn a certain focus, a certain content. And it's not about students working in isolation, because this is one part of the process. Although we're talking about EAP and flipped learning, this can be applied in a face-to-face setting, in an online setting, and also in a blended setting where there's both the face-to-face part and the online part. And definitely it does not make the teacher's job easier, because it requires a lot of planning, as I said, and for the teacher to be a good observer and to know when to guide his or her learners in the right time and to facilitate their learning. So do you have any questions or comments regarding this? This is flipped learning, generally speaking, which can be applied in different contexts, can be applied in K-12. So students, elementary, middle, high school, can be applied on post-secondary level, graduate level. Okay, great. Okay, so let's go to focusing on EAP, English for academic purposes. And I would like to ask you, what does it mean to you, English for academic purposes? And I know here we have one of you who is already working in English for academic purposes. So, because it could have more than one definition. Yes, university level teaching. academic genre. Okay, great, Miral, not ESL, thank you. Any other thoughts? Thank you very much, Yan. Yeah, it is to prepare students for studies in university and college. Exactly, this is it. The objective of an EAP course is to help students learn some of the linguistic and cultural practices involved in studying or working through the medium of English. And this could be in undergraduate level, a graduate level, um, even for those who are, you know, maybe preparing for their PhD or something, but they come from a non-English speaking environment and they need to enhance their English for academic purposes to ensure success, academic success in their you know, studies. So the content could be general, you know, as to improve the 4 skills of the English language in an academic context, or it could be very specific as to a certain area of study, like, for example, engineering students, you know, business students. So it could be that specific. So this depends where this program is running. Is it, you know, in a college, a university, or in a private school where students are just getting, you know, generally speaking, you know, the improving their 4 skills academically, you know. Hi, Catherine, how are you? I hope everything is good at your end. Okay, so I would like to ask you about the approaches for the English language, for English for academic purposes. Approaches, there are different, actually, many of them. Some of them are pragmatic approach, critical approach, or pragmatic critical ones, and this could be a separate whole new topic on its own. So any thoughts on that? Research-based, Miran has added. Okay. Student engagement. So this is about the challenges, right? Yeah, thank you, Miran. Exactly. So yeah, my next question, and you help me here. What could be, yes, Yan? This is very true. It depends on the learners, how much time they have for their studies. And my question here, or my comment, oh yes, yes. What are the challenges in a traditional classroom? And by traditional here, I mean not the flipped model, right? So as you're saying, what you're saying is all very true. Student engagement, how much time they have to dedicate to their studies, if they're taking what they're studying seriously or not. I do agree with all this. And as a teacher, exactly, yeah, they feel English maybe is not very important. Let's jump and study, you know, our majors. Why are we doing this? So this will lead us to sort of compare traditional classroom with the flipped model. So as you can see here, on the left-hand side, there's the traditional model. And again, this could be applied in different contexts, not necessarily EAP, but my focus here is on EAP. So as you can see, I'm sure all of you or most of you are familiar with Bloom's taxonomy. So in Bloom's taxonomy, the lower order thinking skills or levels start with remembering and understanding. So in a traditional model, these are covered during the class time, okay? And for applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating, maybe there isn't enough time. In some programs there is some time, but not entirely. So you will find that due to certain restrictions on time, you know, most of the projects or the work, the hands-on, could be done outside of the class time. At least that was the case for me. In my experience, I've taught in programs where it was very intensive. The courses were very intensive, not enough time to dedicate for a lot of group work or, you know, collaborative tasks. And if you can see the flip model here, the remembering and understanding part is completed outside the class. So instead of the teacher spending time, you know, talking or explaining a certain focus or content, the student can access this on his or her own, and then most of the time is dedicated for the higher level skills. The applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. So there's more time to work on that. One of the important strategies to use, or the effective strategies to use, is to use a web quest strategy. So I would like to ask you if this term sounds familiar to you, a web quest. If you've read about it, if you have tried it personally in your classrooms. Okay, thank you, Catherine. Okay. Thank you, Bushra. Okay, so okay, it's, yeah, I'll highlight what it is about. Yen, a web quest is an inquiry oriented activity, okay, or a lesson plan in which some or all of the information that learners use comes from resources on the internet. So the teachers can create web quests using different ways. It's sort of a framework that the teachers prepare and share with the learners so that the learners are not on their own. Okay, it's a very structured process. So I'll give you an example. There are actually 7 steps. 7 steps. Here I mentioned 4. Here I'm 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So there are 7 steps. Introduction, where the teacher introduces the information, okay, or the topic that the students need to learn, and prepare students for the activity. And there is the actual task that includes an activity that is doable and interesting to the students relating to a certain content, and includes roles of cooperative group members. So it's very specified instruction, okay? And the third step is resources. So the teacher can provide the students with a list of websites and links they need to access to get their information. So the teacher does not leave the students on their own and you go and find your own information. No, it's very, structured process. And then the process, which is descriptive step-by-step guide for completion of the activity. The how-to of completing the activity, 1, 2, 3. And then there's the actual evaluation, how the teacher will evaluate the learners. Is it going to be through a test, a presentation, a research paper, and then, they're given, of course, a specific rubric they need to follow. And then the conclusion, which is the summary, what the students have learned, okay, during this task. What are their takeaways? What did they find positive? What did they find negative? What they liked or disliked about this task? So it's their reflections. And finally, and this part, the final one could be there or not, is the final project. Is it gonna be, as I said, a presentation at the end? Is it gonna be an e-portfolio or a portfolio? Is it gonna be, a group research, an individual research? The actual culminating task. So this is what a web quest is about. Okay, of course, it could be as simple as sharing a Google Doc form with students, giving them, what they need to do. Or it could be more sophisticated tools. And we're going to discuss together here some interesting tools that you can use, whether for your online learners or if you work with your learners in a face-to-face environment. So flipping an EAP classroom, and again, this is the title. However, what goes underneath, outside the class and inside the class can be applied in different contexts. So outside of the classroom, you have e-learning. Okay, you can assign students to search for certain information online. It creates self-directed learners. Instead of the students relying on their teachers to receive the information, they go and find it, right? They do the work. Of course, it provides flexibility of time and place of learning, whether this flexibility is outside of the class or inside of the classroom. Opportunity for in-depth engagement. The students have this opportunity to engage with the material because they can go through it several times whenever they feel this is the right time for them to, grasp the information. And the in-class part, the teacher here has enough time to monitor the students' progress, to identify knowledge gaps. So if I, as a teacher, find that the students have not grasped certain information, then maybe I can recap that. I can design certain tasks or activities that would help them, understand it better. And creating, of course, more opportunities for students to work together or, interact with the teacher. Any questions or comments so far? So Yen, did explaining the web-based, the web quest answer your question concerning your question, the web quest one? Exactly. Lovely. So you've been actually doing that. It's fantastic. And sometimes some teachers do that without really knowing that this is the name for it. You do it intuitively. Yeah. So I would like to start sharing here some tools. Some of them I've personally used, in my teaching. Others I've researched and I found they could be very handy and practical when it comes to the online teaching, as well as applying that with your face-to-face students or learners. So one of them is Edmodo. Does that sound familiar in any way? It is for you, Yan. Yeah? Okay. Okay, so Edmodo, all right. Thank you, Catherine. Edmodo is has been existing for quite some time now, and I was surprised to learn that um, it has like I don't know, 29 million users, something like that. Um, some of its features are that it's a social platform, something like Facebook, but it was designed for the purpose of for an educational purpose. So to help students and learn and teachers communicate together. And it's very, of course, all these tools I'm sharing with you, they are free and they are easy to use. So for you as a teacher, it's very easy to create an account and to start sharing this with your this platform with your students. So you want to communicate with your students in a safe, zone or safe environment. You can create this Edmodo, and there are similar platforms with different names. Maybe some of you already are using others, but this one, it's really easy and flexible. You can post work for your students. You can share assignments. It could help better communication and collaborative work between students, among themselves, or between the teacher and the student. And all this could be under the supervision and the monitoring of the teacher. For those who teach young ones, they can even include parents. Uh, and it could definitely be, the mode of online discussions. Like you can conduct online discussion forums through such a platform. You know, instead of where you can see your students' participation uh, uh, on a certain subject or a certain topic. Okay. The next one is Screencastomatic. Screencastomatic. I've added in all the slides the links for the websites. So please feel free, when we're done with the webinar, you can I'm going to post it, of course, in a couple of weeks, so you can access these links and try them out and, get more information about how to use each one. So Screencast-O-Matic is a video creation and editing tool that is, of course, free, and it is very user-friendly. What I like about it is that you can create unlimited number of 15-minute videos. Okay, and what is cool about it is that it could be either using webcam or screen recording. So if you wanna, record yourself saying something to your students, you can do that, or it could be screen recording as well. And you can save those videos as MP4 files and upload them to YouTube, which is again very convenient. Here, I wanted to share with you how you can use this tool, the Screencastomatic, in specific English for academic purposes context. So here, I used an example from Koska and Lockwood's article, and these two authors are teachers who wanted to share some information about how to conduct an academic research with their students, with their learners. So they recorded their voice and maybe a video of themselves explaining with a detailed description of how to use, for example, Purdue OWL website. This is a very important and easy to access website for students to learn more about academic reading and writing, about the different styles of writing, APA, MLA, and so on. So this could be one way for students to learn more about academic research. They can go through it, listen to it, watch it several times if they need to outside of the class time. And if they have questions about that, they can discuss with their teacher during the class time. Okay. The third tool is Bubblus. Again, this is not a new tool, and I would like to hear from you if you've used this one, read about it. It's been introduced in previous webinars at English Online, and probably in other places as well. But here again, I'm directing it for EAP purposes. Okay. So Bubblus is an online mind map tool that helps students to structure information. It is actually an excellent tool for understanding, remembering, and generating information. So it actually encompasses different levels of Bloom's taxonomy. It can be used for in-class tasks as well as, outside of the class time, students can work on organizing the information they have learned into a mind map. Maybe work on it outside of the class time, continue working on it during the class time. So it could be individual work, it could be collaborative work, it is true that each student is allowed a certain number of uses to this tool, okay, which could be enough for the teacher to try and determine if this tool is working for him or her or not. But if you need to upgrade, of course, you need to purchase the tool. But I believe that 3 times, should be good enough at the beginning to decide if it's working for you or not. And the fourth one is Padlet. So I would like to ask you if you have used Padlet because again, it can be used in many different ways. You can apply it with your K-12 students with in an ESL structure. Okay. So it does sound familiar, or you've actually used it. Excellent. This is good. This is good to know. Okay, the way that I would like to use it, or I have used it here, I have chosen two examples for you. The one on the right hand side, and let me sort of bring, enlarge this for you. This is a task from Kafka's article. They have chosen to title it Synthesizing Research. So here the teachers wanted their students to learn more about phrases and vocabulary words related to research studies. Okay, so they have requested from the learners to work individually or together to gather chunks of phrases and words. Okay, and then at the end it's like a collage, but you do it online. You do it through a page online. And the one on the left hand side is one that I designed for my students. I wanted to teach them about argumentative essay writing, the vocabulary words that they can use, or phrases for argumentative essay writing. Okay, so for example, those who disagree with this idea may assert that it has been argued that critics of whatever differ sharply. So the idea is to familiarize the students with the argumentative essay vocabulary words and phrases to be able to use it in the writing later on. So this could be another way of using it in an EAP context. And of course, they can share it with one another or in groups during the class time. And the fifth one is Socrates Quizzes. Socrates Quizzes, does it sound familiar? Yes. Okay, great. Yeah, they are very handy for short, formative assessment. If you want to assess your students, at the beginning of the class time, before, finishing a certain unit or a certain, focus, you can use the Socrates Quizzes. And what is interesting about it is that it's interactive. You can design it right on the spot, and it's marked automatically. So, and again, students can do that on their own or in groups and share the results right away. Okay, the next step is I sort of highlighted some strategies for in the flip model: pre-class tasks, in-class tasks, and after-class tasks. So here is an example of pre-class. So pre-class tasks, which is outside of the class tasks. For example, the teacher can assign the students a certain video to watch. Okay, and students get to read an article or a book chapter related to the content of this video or videos. And here there is a very effective strategy to use when it comes to assigning the students a video to watch. Instead of giving them the video and, okay, you go and watch, and then, you know, you don't know really what happened. You follow a certain framework of WSQ, which is watch, summarize, the students watch, and then they summarize what they have learned from this video. And then you can prepare a set of questions to, you know, check their understanding. Because, you know, this could get very tricky, especially for, you know, credit courses or students that who are graded. Yeah. So you don't know really if they have done the work or not. And in order for you to be fair with them, and again, to check their understanding, if they have completed this task or not, you can check by, you know, their answers, if they have completed the questions or not. And then pre-class tasks continued. For example, students can complete interactive exercises using the OWL. Probably you're familiar with OWL, which is the academic word list. These are excellent links that you can use, websites that you can use for students to practice on their own. You know, working on vocabulary can get a little bit boring when students do them inside the class, right? And it's very time consuming. So these activities are interesting, and they are interactive. So students can get the right answers after they try. And this one, again, is an excellent website. It does offer a lot of information, very useful information related to the 4 skills. So when it comes to note-taking, how do I use effective note-taking as a student? Summarizing with short texts to, you know, practice. Paraphrasing is always a problem for students on different levels. So they get to work on this on their own. Or it really depends on how the teacher wants it to go. It could be during the class time as well. And for the in-class tasks, students can design mind maps based on the content they have read or listened to at home. So here comes the role of Bubulus. So you can use Bubulus in this way, okay? If you assign your students peer-reviewed articles to read, for example, students can work on summarizing and synthesizing language chunks, like in the 2 examples I shared with you on the Padlet, and then they can discuss as a class together. So these are examples of in-class tasks. In-class tasks continue. Students complete a formative quiz, like the Socrates Quiz app, you know, so just to quickly test their understanding if they're okay. Should I continue with a new topic, a new content or not? And they can give group presentations, okay, based on an online discussion that you can conduct in a platform like Edmodo. Now, the after-class task or tasks include several things, and it's really up to you, your creativity as a teacher. It could be a research article, a summative assessment that needs to be completed individually or in pairs, in groups, a journal article review, a presentation forum, discussion boards, or they can record a video at the end of the course. And again, this could be done individually or in groups or pairs. And here you can use the Screencastomatic tool to, so students can use it as well to present their project at the end to their teachers. So any questions about the three, phases for the tasks? The pre, the in, and the after class tasks. All this is related to the flipped model. Cool, everything is cool. Miral, you feel it's for higher level? Of course, this can be simplified. It could be for beginners, but definitely these students, they need to have, good basics about how to use technology. If you're talking about the level of using technology, it doesn't have to be strong. They don't have to have strong grasp of the English. You can, of course, tailor the type of information you are sharing or the level of information. You can start from very simple and you can. That's great to hear, Yen. Thank you very much for that. And yes, it's going to be on our website, on the English Online website, in 2 weeks or so, with all the links there for you to revisit, definitely. Here are more, I thought of sharing with you more helpful websites and links. So there's one for internet grammar of English. So here to help your students working on grammar, and just to go back to what you were saying, Miral, you can start very simple with very simple grammar foci and work your way up. Academic phrase banks. So this is academic vocabulary and listening. Usually there's a big problem for students when it comes to listening, and academic listening could be challenging. So here they can work on this on their own at home, have the luxury of listening several times, working on that. And here is the Purdue Owl. This is a very valuable website for even for teachers. I always resort to that if I want to research a certain point. And EAP Foundation. This is excellent. If you want your students to get more information about presentation, academic presentations, the how-to, the introduction, the body, the conclusion of your presentations, how to go about that, what terms you can use, what to do, what not to do. And the last one, WordNick, is it's an online dictionary. And it's quite helpful. It's something like dictionary.com, but another one. So just to recap, using flipped learning in an EAP context does have several benefits. It enhances the students' performance. It helps students to be more engaged, as Miral has mentioned at the beginning, definitely. It helps promote problem-solving techniques. It enhances their critical thinking skills. And it does lead to more of a self-directed learner. hopefully, because, you know, they're the ones who are looking for the information themselves, even if it's you know, provided by the teacher. And it does help to create collaboration tasks and activities during the class time. So students learn how to work with one another, how to approach their teacher, you know, which is very helpful for young students as well as for adult learners. Because some adult learners, you feel they're so dependent on you as a teacher. And here are the references. Please, of course, if you have any questions, we can spend a couple of minutes on this. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you for attending. It's my pleasure. And here, if you need a certificate of participation, please feel free to contact me. This is my email address here, PLAlfi at My English Online, or my Skype, okay? But it has to be within 1 hour after the webinar, okay? If you can do that, that'll be excellent. It's gonna take me a couple of days, and I'll be sending you your certificate. Thank you all. It's my pleasure. I wish you a lovely weekend, the rest of Saturday and Sunday. And I hope you're enjoying the weather. I'm not sure how is the weather at your end. Here, I'm in Mississauga, Ontario. It's beautiful. So